Welcome everyone for a very exciting Sunday Night Live here on the Living Theosophy YouTube channel. I used to carry this around with me all the time when I did the little live broadcasts. This is so important to me. These are two of the most beautiful souls I have met on the path. They are beloved friends and fellow dedicated students of Theosophy. Their names are Taposhri Ganguly, we call her Tap. So we also have Lyndon S. Smith. And we're going to spend the entire hour together with you as you come in on your chat. If you're able to come in on the chat, if we miss you on the chat, we invite you to leave a comment and I will get back to those comments. I will tell you that it has gotten so busy in the theosophical world online that it does take me a little bit of time, but I will get to you. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome lovely and talented Taps and Lyndon. Welcome you two. Welcome.
Thank you. It's like, being with my mini family. So I'm so
it feels so good. Oh, I love you so much. I love you so much. And we hopefully, we have a few people. Hi there, Anu. Welcome. Your first time on this channel. Welcome to the Living Theosophy channel. Welcome to you. We're inviting you to comment in the chat, or if you'd like to comment in the comment section afterwards. Let me introduce, well, I'll just tell a little bit about the Living Theosophy channel is simply that. Living theosophy, being these ancient wisdoms and sacred teachings, which are based on fact, not faith. And we have met on this journey over the last year. I think, Lyndon, our anniversary, happy anniversary. I think we met. I think we met either in October or November of last year.
Yeah.
Tap and I've been friends for maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 months, something like that. But
in May,
we've been able to think. Was it only in May?
Yeah, oh my God. It feels forever, but it's just
oh my goodness. Well, okay, if you guys happen to see a comment that we miss, just shout it out. I love and trust these people as if they are family. It does feel like family. It truly does. And Taps, when you were on the show, I remember you described theosophy like home. And I'll never forget that when you said, it just feels like home to me. So I was going to let the two of you maybe take the floor. I'll just introduce a little bit and you can we'll just start it that way. Because having you on as guests, I know if you guys happen to see it, is that me? Did I do that? I'm sorry. I don't know if that was mine or not, but I apologize for the technical difficulties. There's a few of us with our monitors on and we are feeding directly to YouTube from Zoom. Would you like to start, ladies first, Ms. Taposhri Ganguly, about how theosophy has changed your life? And we will be again taking questions. We don't have to stay on a subject. It's the three of us where it's an organic, warm, loving little circle. So if you'd like to go first, please.
Well, theosophy has changed my life completely. It's like a 360-degree turn. And when I call it home, it's pretty much like, when you reach home, when you come home, it's pretty much that you can be yourself. It's that space where you can just be you without any shame, without anything. It's just that, and you are who you are. You don't have to sort of care about what other people are saying. And because I live a life with this philosophy of neti, which is like not this, keep discarding things, it was very much for me a host of things that I've lost with coming to theosophy. There are a lot of things. One is like losing the sense of the need to be, I am right all the time. That desire to be right all the time, the desire to speak all the time, the desire to be the center of attention all the time, and those kind of desires that come with the personality, that is something that I've completely lost, which sometimes I find it very odd because I don't fit in and I don't want to literally speak. It's not that I don't see things, I see everything, but I just don't have that interest to take the center stage and go and say, oh, here is what I think, unless I'm literally put on spot and someone asks me for my opinion, or unless that thing seems really falling apart, that's when I go and I give my opinion. Otherwise, I don't have that urge for anyone in the world to come and listen to what I have to say. I've lost that urge completely. And I am pretty much okay with it because, I can be somebody, I can have a voice, but not necessarily have a voice and have an opinion aligned to the voice for things that don't really matter. Because it's like a lot of work that I have to do on my own self every single day. Like, it's like a major work. So I've also lost a desire to be into people's lives. And that desire is completely gone. I have no time because I have to work on my own self every single day. It's like to stay in that space of neutrality, to like how to flow with the emotions, because every day is different, work is challenging, things are different, and a lot of things happen everywhere. So you're conditioned to every different context, every different environmental setting, and then how do you keep this balance and keep flowing? So in a way, that whole flow is like, that's what I do. I flow through it. I don't really get involved in it, like, because it doesn't matter to me, to my being. It's irrelevant, because if it is anything on the outside is irrelevant to my being. It's like what I am on the inside as that vessel. If I'm not able to radiate and stay in that space of neutrality, I will attract complete dirt on the outside any which way. So that is something that I am completely grateful to Theosophy for saying that it's okay. It's okay to be that way, because your work is with you. Your work is not, my job is not to, correct and change people on the outside. My job is to be the best version of me and to sort of, clean this vessel. Like, even this body is transient, this name is transient, right? But then it's impermanent. But then what is it that cleanliness of that inside lining, the inner lining, and that's what keeps me busy. So it's home, and it's like a very busy home.
That it was so beautiful the way you described that, the freedom from attachment, the freedom from wanting to be right. I mean, how would you say though that the theosophical teachings can give you that? For those who are watching this, we talk about theosophy as a way of life. It is life's instruction manual. What Taps just said is quite advanced for the way a lot of people live our life. I mean, mine is in practical application all the time. It's always something to do. But what you mentioned, there were three things in there that really jumped out, especially you don't need to be heard. It isn't important. You can't change anybody else. You can't change anything else. You can only change yourself. And you're not really bothered about what other people perceive about you. Can you tell me, in a way, how theosophy, how the teachings, if you're just coming across this channel, we have free ebooks if you wanted to go check out. There's a link down below if you wanted to check out the Voice of the Silence Line on the Path. They're free. You can get free copies of them here on this channel to listen to them. There's so much. Just look up theosophy. You don't even have to find it here. But Taps, can you describe how the teachings themselves have helped get you to where you are in that particular?
Sure. And the most amazing thing is, like, because I've just given this talk in Russia where you were there, and this whole thing that I spoke about, this absolute, like, so there is this unmanifested part, which we will never, like, it's something we will never be able to understand and comprehend intellectually, or however you want to comprehend it. We won't get there. So that's like this infinity that we'll never understand. What we go through are realizations, are manifestations, and there are different forms. So the way I understand a form is not necessarily how someone else is going to understand the form, but we are all going to have our own realizations. And all those realizations together, how HPB puts it in The Secret Doctrine, it's the sum total that leads you to that. It's the partial sum total that leads you to that particular event. So the idea is, like, my sum total is going to be different from somebody else's sum total. So how does it matter? Why should I interfere into somebody else's life? It's not going to change anything for me, right? It's going to be my 0-1 game. It's somebody else's 0-1 game. Someone might start from somewhere, I might start from somewhere else. And we are all going to get to our own realizations from that major big absolute, which is unmanifested, can't be comprehended. We draw our realizations given our own context. So who am I here to be able to change or say, look, this was, even when Blavatsky wrote The Secret Doctrine, she had put in her context there. So it was her context in which she drew it, and it was right to her at that given point in time. Today, my realization is my realization. My situations are, and my understanding will be driven by my past karmas and the way I look at things. It's very different from anybody else's, but the commonality is that sum total of it is going to be what we call life. for all of us. So why should I interfere into somebody else's? I don't see a point. It will be very stupid of doing that, wasting my own time.
But Lyndon, help me with this. A majority of the people on our planet spend much in the opposite way of doing things. I spent a majority of my life, I still struggle with that, about releasing my attachment to wanting to do something that isn't my responsibility or in my realm. Lyndon, what would you say about that way of looking at life? The way TAPS is so brilliantly explained, and I would love it if you could condense the 01 for those of us who were not at the lecture on last Sunday, which is actually going to be up for the Russian online conference. We will post that on the Living Theosophy Facebook page and also on D. TAPS has her own program over on D that she does, a weekly program as well. Lyndon, dedicated student of Theosophy, very involved in volunteer work with lots of stuff. But anyway, Lyndon, really quick, how would you say the world looks at, and how do you look at what TAPS was talking about, just about the release of wanting to be involved or try to control things one can't control? How does Theosophy help you with that?
Well, it's a slow process, and obviously it's a working process, so you can't ever say there's going to be immediate results. I think what it is, the first step is a profound recognition somehow, that's recognized somewhere deep inside that there needs to be a change. The idea of trying to change or orchestrate a change or get involved with things, sometimes you have to be passive and let things happen. So other times you can interact and engage. But I think if we're looking at it from a detachment point of view, then that is one of the cornerstones of the theosophical teachings, as it is with all other great traditions, that the release of attachment to material things, to pride, to envy, to self-aggrandization, to all these things allude to the lower vehicles. So that's cessation of the lower entity, which is me, which is TAPS, which is you and the viewers. So to be able to recognize that element is profound. It's a profound recognition that even though it might just be small steps, that's enough to recognize and make a change. It might only be small things at first, slightly changing in conduct, slightly changing in thought patterns. And I think to pick up on what TAPS said very eloquently, because TAPS is a beautiful speaker.
She is.
She is.
We're not just saying that. This is live. Lyndon, let's take the stage and say how awesome she is.
Yes,
she
is.
She's awesome.
Yes,
but we're going to validate that. You are an amazing speaker, and you will do great things in this world of science, mathematics, and theosophy. I'm absolutely positive. So Lyndon, we need to make the most of the time that she has to spend with us. She will be very busy flouncing all over the world.
So if we look at some of the great books, I mean, Light on the Path, and Through the Gates of Gold. So Light on the Path makes reference to very early on. It's they're sort of like little stanzas, if you will, little fragments of thought. It tells you in a non-scientific way about detachment, or rather attachment, and how it's a falsity. So to pick up on what TAPS said, and I think it was lovely, because every time you talk with somebody, they put it slightly different and it goes in your brain. So when TAPS said it's the sum total of all these little changes which lead to the big change, that is a very good way of putting it. Now, it might just be something as benign as being nice to somebody, or doing something altruistic for somebody, or it might be walking in nature, taking your time to consider something. Who knows what repercussions there can be from pursuing this very virtuous, and the only worth pursuit of this knowledge, of this understanding. There is nothing else out there that I can see that's valid and requires this care and love and dedication, as does Theosophy.
It's true. It is life's instruction manual.
It
For lack
is.
of a better way, or it's also a way of being. We have a comment. Hold that thought. Very well said, Lyndon, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, and I know that the three of us, though, the love between us, I just absolutely adore them. And I know we could talk forever and ever. Amen. And I apologize if you have commented and I haven't got to you, Dominic. It's not because I don't want to. It's because it's just we get going. So we'll say hi there, Face of Ghana. Welcome to you. Dominic and Anu are here. There's also 12 of you in the audience. Welcome to the rewatchers after this.
Yeah.
Leave your comments, but I have not pre-read these comments, so I'm hoping that that will be all right. Dominic is saying, do we, and this is asking you too as well, obviously, do we, from our many attachment, from negative feminine or positive masculine, I don't know, but well, here we go. Face of Ghana says, thanks. You're welcome, Face of Ghana. Thanks. Live television. Isn't it funny to be able to do that? Wouldn't it be funny if it could have done that back in the day, if TV would have stopped and talked to you? But Dominic asks, do we, from our many attachments, from negative or positive, experience a bit of both? And are they both condition-like language? That is Dominic's question that I shall put to you guys. I'll read it again. Talking about, do we, from our many forms of attachment, from negative or positive, experience a bit or of both? And are they both condition-like language? So I'm going to take that as, I don't know. I mean, I would take that as absolutely. There's both sides, just like day is night, night is day, and tide comes in, tide goes out, sun is up, sun is down. I mean, I don't know exactly what the
learn from both. It's like language. I think you learn from both. Certain words are positive, certain words are negative, if I understand the question correct. So it is conditioned, yes, it is. And you go through these conditions, but you don't attach to these conditions. You have to go through it. It's not that somebody's life is going to be absolutely positive all the time. That's not happening. Even our heartbeat, if you look at that ECG that's done, even that moves up and down. The minute it's a straight line, you're dead. So
good point. Yeah.
So if your heartbeat is not really like a straight line, so how is life ever going to be a straight line? It's not. It's always going to be up and down. But the thing is, what is it that you're attaching yourself to? Is that up and down? When you're up, you're happy. Is that happiness really you? No, it's not. Is that sadness really you? It's not, because it's ever-changing state. In combination, they make your life. Right. And that is something that if you know that these states are going to change the way they are today in this body, it's going to change when you go out and you get a new body. And it was very different when you came in a previous body, in whichever form you came in. So it's the knowledge that you have. If you accept it, you learn from it, you learn the patterns, you become the patterns, you exhibit those, you don't get attached to them, you're fine. I'm giving a lecture like it's all okay.
It is okay. Everything you're saying, it's perfectly okay. This is obviously meant to be. You have so much to share, all of that you've been through. I know that your journey, we've talked about this before, how long you've been involved in Theosophy, but talking about the ups and downs, the swings and roundabouts, there are difficult times when we are learning. There are good times when we get to rest, and that never, ever stops. That's one of my favorite things to remember, because I've always wanted it to, okay, everything's going to stay perfect now. It isn't going to stay perfect now. It isn't going to stay bad all the time either. So,
and also
Lyndon,
it's worth pointing out that, when you start going in this theosophical journey, or you take on any spiritual path or anything, this knowledge of understanding self, you will be given the toughest exams thrown at your face when you're not ready at all. And it will be the most challenging life that you would live. Now, it is also preparing. Now, if you look at it from a different, example point of view, it's like, look at diamond, it shines so bright, but look at where it comes from. Look at how much of, the polishing that needs to be done. So the more you polish, the better it is. It's exactly the same thing.
Great analogy, pressure, heat, but then eventually beauty, but much, it wasn't an easy journey by any means to go to be a diamond. Lyndon, I want to get to you in just a moment. PG is saying, it's always so wonderful listening to your discussions. These guys are fantastic. I love being able to work with them. Thank you. This is Lyndon S. Smith and Taposhri Ganguly, dedicated students of Theosophy, two of my favorite people in the world. We're just talking about how Theosophy has changed our life. And we have been on several platforms together, and we always have a wonderful time. We have a study group on Thursday nights that we get to study the secret doctrine with Petra, who's a big powerhouse on this channel. There's just so much, just lifetimes of learning to do. So what we wanted to do was just talking about, and I do want to get back to the 1-0 thing that was talked about at the Russia convention with TAPS, because that is a mathematical look at these ancient teachings that are timeless. Lyndon, could you share a little bit about, we always talk they're sacred, they're ancient, they're timeless, they're ageless. But how do they apply in the modern world? Would you like to go ahead and possibly touch on that?
So for me, one of the routes to Theosophy was that I always have a profound interest and a fascination with the world. So how the physical world works. So what are leaves? What is water? What is sand? How do things work? I apply this in my profession, the understanding of how things work and how things are put together. I think from a very early age that the answers that were always given to me never satiated the actual question that was asked inside. And as you come to look at the teachings and the writings, you come to realize that the sciences, as profoundly wonderful as they are, can only ever explain to you the material manifestation and never really give to you the answer of why. They will answer the how, but they'll never answer the why. And to me, that's missing out a profound element of what these beautiful writings can be applied. So what I've come to realize is that reading, say, Light on the Path or The Voice of the Silence, that they might not actually make literal sense, and that's not the sense we're looking for. It's an intuition, it's a deeper understanding, and something takes this information in. That isn't satiated by material science. It doesn't answer these profound questions, but Theosophy does. And not only that, it doesn't only make a rough approximation of the cosmos, where we are, man's position. It actually gives you a complete and utter instruction manual to everything that's intellectually rigorous, and it's of the heart. It's not a mental process. It never was. So this is what it's allowed me to do, is to, I think it's the difference between cold information and fact and alive, warm gnosis and knowledge and wisdom. There's a world apart. There always was. And that pays homage to me as a living person, to you, Anne, and to you, Taps, and the viewers. Because we are more than just 80% water, 60% carbon, whatever. There is more to this. There is more to this. And Theosophy will give you that answer in spades. Yeah,
So
it really does.
I don't know if there's any way I could top the things that you guys have said. This is so lovely, so organic and authentic, the way that you're sharing your journey, because usually we're doing things together, we're doing things or we're studying things, but to hear you speak on your own journey, where I'm not just asking you an interview, but we're just speaking, is fantastic. Thank you, Lyndon. So well said. We have Face of Ghana is asking a question momentarily. Stand by. I don't remember a past life, so it's quite difficult for me to adopt reincarnation as an ideology. However, I'm sure there is more to discover. Any thoughts? Well,
that's all right. Not everybody knows about past lives, and you don't remember, and it's fine. I don't remember my past life or lives. I would like to believe I wasn't here long enough, but we all know we have been here for very long. But that's fine. You don't have to. But it's pretty much like, say, like there was this one thing about symbology. Now, this is like a little, symbologies are also touched upon in theosophy.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that you find you find a familiarity with it, not because you have studied it, but your heart really reaches out. And it's with people as well. Some people you're like really, really close to, you will get some sort of an association, some sort of an energy vibration, which you relate to. And those don't have to be of past lives, but they are just telling you that there is something more than what you know. It's something about you. It's something about your soul that is connecting. It's the energy that is connecting to the other person's energy. Or it's the symbols that are mapped inside of you that you're sort of trying and remembering. And, we are all made up of all the same things. So that connection is sort of good enough for you to understand that you have been here. This is not the first time you've been here before. Otherwise, how would you have that connection? You just pick up a random, phone and you speak to somebody and you're like, I kind of like that person, like those kind of things do happen to all of us. And they are good enough to tell you that somehow and that knowledge is not something that has to be active, but it is in a passive state, but it is in one of the mental states in your being, which is not necessarily this body, but some other body in some other life.
Very well said. Very well said. And I wish I could say that I remembered them, but there are things that I can go back and recognize. But it'd be like if we went to say 1998, February 10th. What were you doing? I don't know. But we were there, were we not? And it helped make us who we are today, right? But I can't remember February 10th, 1998. But I can't. But it happened and we lived it and it made us who we are today. So in a way, when sometimes people go, I don't believe in past lives, I go, well, you don't have to. You don't have to. But it's a very natural, normal thing. If you look at the cycles of the earth and nature, you even see in the cycle of the year, where in the autumn, this is the death. And we go into, the dying and then the death of winter and the rebirth and summer. We have it, everything is all in front of us. This is alchemy, Kabbalah, all of it. Lyndon, did you want to say something on past lives?
The only thing I would say is that if something doesn't click or doesn't make sense, just park it, just put it somewhere and just listen to it. It's not about belief. It never was. Theosophy wasn't about belief. It's about coming to terms with realizing a recognition, an understanding. So if it doesn't make sense, read what's said on it, but only accept your own truths. And for me, reincarnation is a big thing to accept, but it's spoken of so widely, and I have to accept that there are, as you said, Anne, there are everything's part of a cycle, so everything's cyclical. The heartbeat, which Taps alluded to before, the rising and falling of the chest, life and death, autumn and the seasons, the spinning of the planets, the night and the day. And this is one of the fundamental principles of this wisdom, is these principles which pivot on the spot, but periodically show their opposing sides. So it would therefore conclude very, very rationally to say that if life is the opposite of death, then death is the opposite of life, and that this process will go on like all the other processes, from the tides, the waves, everything is part of a greater process. And you see this in maths, you see it in chemistry, you see it in physics, you see it in astronomy. So to somehow deny that same process of your own person, to say, well, it applies to everything else but apart from me as a person, is a bit bizarre. So I would say that life, even though I can't prove that life follows death follows life, then if I apply the teachings and understand what I do, then it makes more sense to say, yes, there are previous lives, and that we are a sum total of all the previous lives that we've had.
Brilliantly said, brilliantly said. And you mentioned something very important. It isn't just reading the text, it's the application. I'm not sure, what word did you use? Was it application of the teachings? I'm not sure, assimilation, whatever it was that you said.
Can't remember now.
It's okay. It's not just about reading it. It's not, I mean, if you want to start with something light, start with Light on the Path. These are powerful texts that point towards even more texts that even still are not the full picture, but it is
No.
in reading them to understand them with an academic mind is not, that's not the point. There are some people who do that. The most important thing is what Lyndon and Taps were talking about, which was actually put them into application. You become them in every situation, no matter what it is. Your car breaks down in the middle of the road, there's all these lorries coming at you. You can apply theosophy in that situation. Bank account, death, you name it. It's for life, and it is based on fact, not a belief system. So if you look at the ancient teachings, it goes all the way back to even before time itself, the underlying foundation of all the world's religions, sciences, and philosophies. And so I get chewed a lot. People go, oh, it's a religion. Oh, it's this, it's that. I go, well, look into it. You don't have to listen to what I say. It has nothing to do with what I say.
Go and read it.
Yeah, read it and see how it affects you. And what what you think about it. So very well said on that. There's several other things I wanted to get to. Dominic was commenting something as well. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss your comment. Dominic is saying reading written works feeds the lineal mind. Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about feeding the intellect, but if you stay in the intellect, to me that's still the lower self. It comes through the application, as Lyndon said, the heart. What is your thought on that?
I also feel that if you just read it, it's like on a good day we can all quote beautiful quotes because we have read it. But your test is on the bad day. The day, say for example, you're having the worst day of your life. Are you still able to quote? Are you still able to recall that quote that you really, really love? That's the test that you give yourself, and you see where you stand.
Wow, very well said. And these tests, as you're on the path, as you say, they come in, and everything is a test. Everything in life is a test. And they say, as you get further down the path, the tests get even harder. And when you absolutely are least expecting it, and they're really painful.
They're
and
very
the only
painful.
Yeah, very
and the
painful.
more and the intensity of your pain, as it grows, as it gets more and more intense, are you able to hold on to that stillness? Most people can't, and that's when they fail. And then they get back to the teachings on a good day. That doesn't help, because the teachings are meant for you to be able to be still in that intense, painful moment. If you can't do that, then you probably need to go back and revisit as to what you're studying, because then it's all intellectual, nothing applicable.
Brilliant, beautiful. Lyndon, thoughts on that?
Wow. It's, for me, what Tap said is a fundamental part of it. But for me, it's more, it's an evolutionary, it's like small steps for me. It's, you have to do little small steps and make an improvement here, make an observation there, make a studious observation about something and try and make a change for the better. Try and apply and involve this profound understanding that we get from these wonderful books, and from many other books as well, not only theosophical texts, but there are other wonderful texts as well to take great strength from. So small steps, don't put yourself under too much pressure. These are very, very tall things at times, and you can make small steps and make a great change, and you will surprise yourself.
Yeah. And it's when you put it into application and things begin to change in your real life, and usually at a time of great psychological pain, sometimes physical pain, but a lot of the time I found the most has happened during the time that I was at the most broken and I had nothing to lose, but I just said, okay, well, I'll open it and read it and whatever. And then I tried applying it, and then something changed. And it was when that time of great suffering. And so unfortunately, pain is the usher of wisdom. And it isn't always going to be painful, but it isn't always going to be easy. It's how you ride that wave.
Yeah.
And pain is an agent of change, isn't it, as well?
Yes. Pain is, and pain actually, it's not really, when you sort of go through it, obviously you're like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? And that's a normal tendency to avoid it. But if you face it, you would see that, you are kind of being healed as well in the process. And that healing is very, very, it's a teaching for life, because you can then deal with anything. Like left in the middle of the road, you know how to get home, because you would have dealt with it. But if you don't deal with it, which most people don't, because, and it's because it's intellectual. Some people feel it's an intellectual journey, and I need to know this, and I need to be able to quote certain people at certain point in time, and that's all nice. But do you really apply these? Because if you apply these, then the quotes are irrelevant. It's pretty much that's your life. So living theosophy, that's why we're all here, right? Then you live it. You don't really want to quote it because you're living it, and it's your life. So people then see it from your life. You don't need those beautiful words that Blavatsky has used. It's like a very beautiful English. I can't even pronounce half the words, but but you don't need to, because you are living that life, and that is your life, and that's your story, that's your context. So
well, that's one of the reasons it's called living theosophy, is to, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, honey. What did you say?
I said it's simple, like I'm saying as if it's simple. It's not simple. Like Lyndon said, it's baby steps. It's all baby steps. But it might sound simple the way we say it, because all of us have been in it for a very, very long time. I now, if I look back, I would say, well, I was a born theosophist. That's the word I use it. Never Theosophical Society. but there are people who are theosophists who are not part of an organization, and that's fine as well. They are living the life. So once you live that life, it's okay, and then you talk about it. It sounds easy. If you're just starting on, it will be it's a work. So baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. Like she's saying, there are it's the compassion, this crushing compassion and empathy and understanding, unity, the feeling of non-separateness. They say the great heresy is feeling and believing that you are separate from everything and everyone else. All of these teachings, if you think of the New Age movement of the last century, they're cherry-picked from these teachings. Yeah. That's where they came from. And then gurus would go ahead and say, oh, I came up with that, so come to my little church and my whatever cult. But anyway, they're ancient. They are not just at the end of the 1800s. They go all the way back to the Alexandrian philosophers, to ancient Egypt. You go all the way back through Jacob Boehme, and you've got especially the alchemists. When they're talking about the transmutation, this is actually the transmutation is taking place inside of your lower matter, rising to the higher gold of pure spirit, of overcoming your lower self. It's all in there. And so what we're talking about is just our personal journeys, barely, as we blast through this hours. Thank you, Dominic. I wanted to just mention, if anybody is coming, there's a few of you here. If anybody is coming in and just going, well, they've been studying theosophy for a while, how can I possibly begin? Where do I start? And how do you, I ask this question every day when people, when I'm on the social media channels, they're like, hey, theosophy. I'm like, it's theosophy. But more and more people are understanding what the word theosophy is. So how do you explain theosophy, both of you, to your friends who are not theosophists?
Lyndon, you go first. I'll copy.
Well, it's thanks.
You're welcome.
I think it's case specific, because obviously you speak with a young person and you might pick up a pine cone and say, what is this? And let's talk about patterns in things and how they all link together. So the swirl that you see on the base of a pine cone, is that similar to what you see in a sunflower? Is that similar to the galaxies? What are we looking at here? Is this a common law which we're seeing? Yes, let's talk about that and explore these ideas. We can explore the idea of the opposites of things, the day and the night. So that's talking to it on an elementary level, right the way through to speaking to people of my own age, where you can be a little bit more free, but they about it and explain more fully that it's the arcane wisdom which is scattered throughout all philosophies, all religions, and the history of man. Imbued in paintings, music, art, philosophy, culture, all the higher ideals which pertain to humanity show a manifestation of this arcane truth. When you hear it, you can't deny it. It will shiver inside you like a golden cord, and it will make sense when you, it resonates. In a literal sense, if you want to learn more about it, I would always recommend this book here, which has been voiced by this channel.
Yeah, it's on here for free if you guys want to check it out. I would recommend listening to it at 75% because I was new when I started and I read at radio speed. But yes, this book was what introduced us both.
Yes.
Not at the time, we were in different places, but it was this book that introduced us to Light on the Path, which pointed towards Theosophy.
Light on the Path is another great one, and Through the Gates
it's
of
on
Gold,
here too for free,
which is on here.
Yeah.
So go with it, and just let something absorb something, because we're dealing with another entity here. This is something that you might not be aware of inside, that needs time to drink in this and absorb this information.
Beautifully said. Oh my God. I love you guys so much. I really do. I know I say that, but I truly do. I really feel so much gratitude to be able to share this with you, because for the longest time I was by myself. You know, I just did it by myself, thinking I didn't want to get involved in drama, and I didn't want to follow a guru, and I wasn't going to sit there and if I was going to corrupt, it would just be me. If I was going to gain anything, then great, I got to work with the teachings. But now, because of COVID, as we're going on to this new world, this digital world, and kind of been forced to go out, I've been able to meet you, and now we work together around the world. So Taps, I want to see if you would share a little bit about how you explain Theosophy to those who are not theosophical.
See, here is where I'm very different from you and Lyndon, because you two are empaths. You want to explain to people, you know. I am not.
We do.
You do though, Tats.
I am just not an empath. I'm very objective. I don't want to explain anything to anybody.
We love you the way you are, Tats. Don't say
we are very empathetic when it comes to Tap. She gets the job done. We're too busy over there over caring and sacrificing ourselves. So
that's like so Lyndon, like he started with how he would explain it to a child. I would never even, you know, go near it, you know. I would not even bother. So that's where I'm very different from you two. You see a real life example. So I would not explain anything to anybody. The only thing I would say is when people go in this state of distress and pain, and you know, like something is not working out and it's like they're very stressed about something, I always say, like, step out of it, bring yourself out of the picture and see the situation. If you're able to do that, and that itself is going to point you to an interest, which is like something, there is something more to you, to your being, rather than this body and, you know, all the materials and everything that's happening. So if you're able to do that, then they automatically become a theosophist. They don't need me. But that's the only thing I tell them. I just ask them to step out of the picture and to see the thing as it is.
do they take that and want to learn more? Are you noticing that?
Yeah, they do. I have had two people who have turned around, two success rate. Look at me, a statistician, and I'm very happy with two on a sample of like 7 billion plus people. But that's fine. Some people have gotten back and said that they do it, and it's an exercise to pull yourself out is also a very, so it's an art that most people are not able to do. But if you're able to do that, you automatically are drawn into these teachings. And you wouldn't need me. So it's happened to two people who have come back. And sometimes people are also very, you know, they find theosophy very hard.
Yeah.
You know, they are like, oh, it's very hard, can't do this. And it's like, start small, like start with this, you know, 14 lessons in yogi philosophy. I heard this on your channel, to be, you know, just to complete that thing, like the book I heard it on your On Living Theosophy channel. So you can start with anything. You can start with Light on the Path, Voice of the Silence, and it speaks to you. And also, I don't know, by the grace of God, maybe the way I am, not many people come to me asking for advice, because they know I'm just like, I don't have time. so that's also there. But people who come to me, or who I have advised or about theosophy, or, you know, spoken about theosophy, they all are prepared in certain way to receive these messages. Yep. So I just point them, you know, like, okay, this is where you need to go and do. Rest, I don't go on explaining. That's the work of the empaths, not mine. I'm objective.
Thanks. Thanks for that. Leaving it for us. I wanted to, and there is a difference between being an empath and being just, you give so much that if you don't have healthy boundaries, it can lead to self-destruction. And I've learned that the hard way. So compassion, I think it was Pablo Sender on this channel, and he said, compassion is the ultimate attribute, but too much of it can be damaging. And I remember, I'll never forget the way I felt when he said that, because I thought, because I'm 53, I still love, love, love. But I don't think I'll ever change. I don't think you will, Lyndon, either, too. There's never enough love. We've missed a few comments. I think we've been talking. I apologize. Dominic has been on top of it. Dominic, also, we had somebody come in talking about the entity, when you're mentioning that Theosophy was an entity all its own. We have Evelise Carvalho saying another entity. That's what I believe it really is. I'm not sure, Evelise, if you want to elaborate on that. But a lot of people do come in, and I don't want to spin this, but some people do think that Theosophy, since it is outside or in the realm of the occult, which just means outside the common understanding, it can be, what's the word I'm looking for, guys? It can be blacklisted. It can be slammed. It is not a bad thing. The church would love for you to think that it is, because it's going to get you to think for yourself. You're the temple. Nature is the true church. Everything you need is inside of you. So yes, if you want to say other entity, perhaps you mean another energy, living energy all of its own. I'm not sure. If you'd like to elaborate on that, please do, Evelise. And then a question for you guys. Dominic is coming in about the ego is a clever one. Talking about the ego, which sometimes people use ego to identify whole self. I think in this particular case, he might mean the lower self. Would either of you like to share a little bit, as we've only got 10 minutes left, on the lower self and high self? I know how that happens, seriously. Lyndon, would you like to start?
The ego is a very, very, very slippery character.
Yes.
He or it has found how to manipulate you. I mean, you come across these attributes honestly through the process of development and evolution, and the ego might have set out more as a very basic fundamental. So for example, as a hunter-gatherer, to store away more food for winter might have then turned into this desire to have opulence to show off. The desire to have power over others might have meant that you would have been more successful and had a better chance of survival, has turned into control. So these are sort of caricatures of basic fundamental elements which most of the animal kingdom don't have. I don't say all, but certainly a lot of it don't have. So it's become very extreme with the human condition. The ego is an incredibly slippery character, because it will tell you untruths to you, and you believe them. So you've got to understand, and looking, for example, at the 14 lessons, it will tell you how to differentiate and not conflate the ego, the intellect, and the various vehicles that you are. So if you look at all of the great teachings, it says that man is manifold, he's not one. And there's actually a book called The Manifold and the One by Agnes Ayer, who wrote a beautiful book on this. So it's understanding what these elements are, which comprise you as a aggregate entity. But the second thing is, once you know it, once you've seen it and recognized it, you then are in a better position, because knowledge is power with this. You've got to understand your nature, where you're from, why we are as we are, our heritage. And I think possibly the final goal is to extinguish the ego completely. That is the end goal, but it's way, way, way advanced, and only the great ones have ever been able to do this.
You know, wars are launched because of the ego. There's just so much drama and separation and complete suffering.
We all have it. We all have
that
it.
voice is our own. That voice is our own, that tells us that we're better than everybody else, but we're still a piece of crap. That you recognize it if it talks like that. That's your lower self. Taps, we have a few minutes. I wanted to get to the 1 and 0 from the Russian talk. I'd love for you to have that if you can, but I also would like for you to, no pressure, I'm sorry, but it is brilliant and it is so worthwhile. Would you like to speak a little bit about your thoughts on the lower self, on the ego?
On the ego? I don't think the ego leaves, because it's a part of the personality, right? So it's like this little kid always with you, telling you, oh, you don't want to change. I think you really want that, you know.
Yeah.
Always following you, always is like, oh, you should be proud of yourself. You're so better than everyone else. That's exactly your ego, and it doesn't want you to change. But then there are practices like yoga and meditation that one does regularly to take control of it. You can't get away from it. Like, it is never going to leave you until you have this body and you're able to separate that. We all live with it till our last breath. But it's like the way you look at it. You hear it, but you don't act on it. If you don't act on it, there is nothing that's going to happen, right? It's there, it's talking. It's like so many things. There's so many opinions out there. Do you really look at every opinion? No. So similarly, just being aware of when it is ego, it's okay. So that awareness is something that's going to come from the space of stillness and neutrality. So there are practices that one needs to get into, and we all have to do it. It's not that it's not special for someone. We all have to go through the grind. So once you know it, you acknowledge it, like Lyndon said, you acknowledge it, and then you are like, you're okay not to listen to it. And sometimes having a healthy ego is also okay. You know, imagine if somebody is coming to sort of like literally hit you for no fault of yours. You wouldn't just stand there and be like, yeah, please hit me, you know.
No, you got to have boundaries. Boundaries, yes. Without,
boundaries are important. And those ego, like, you know, when it's well trained, when you're not listening to it, you clearly know your boundaries. You know that I do not want to get into this conflict zone with this person because it's not my job.
It isn't your job. Yeah, to fix anybody else. Yeah. Okay, we have a few minutes left. I want to say thank you to all of you that are commenting. I wanted to give a shout out there to Lyndon because we had the very sweet and lovely, where'd she go? Evelise just came and she goes, I agree with Lyndon. Thank you so much. Thanks for getting back to me. So when we were talking on that, isn't that sweet? And I see Dominic is going. And Face of Ghana is saying, hi there, Catherine. Oh my gosh, hi, sweet. Yes, we all have to work. Yes, we all have to work on it. And you'll recognize it because it's the one that talks crap about you and talks crap about everybody else and makes you feel like you're the most important worm in the world. Okay, when we, but you're lesser than everybody else and everybody else is out to get you. You'll know it, you'll recognize it. I call it the brute thing, like it says in the 14 lessons. Gosh, hang on, Peachy, let's get to this question. What is the one that can hold on to feel tight? Hang on. What is it that one can hold on to feel right? Because at times when one needs instant gratification, well, instant gratification,
that's lower self.
What's that?
Gratification is a lower self. It's like
is absolutely, yeah.
It's
Bam, give it to me now.
You know that you need it for this time being. This time is, it's like, you know, eternity. It's like never, it's like eternal. It's like you don't have a beginning, don't have an end. That's where you want to reach. Everything else that is like timed and like it has got a time stamp on it, it's going to decay. So choose your battles. Like,
if you want instant gratification, go and walk in nature and try and reinstate some of that wonder and awe which has been lost in this modern malaise, a cacophony of sound, of technology, of satiating the lower order through these online auction sites and buying material stuff. Just go and walk in nature and muse at the wonder of it, and that will give you instant gratification.
Also, if you really, really are interested in it, you know, indulging in that time, do it knowing that this time is impermanent. Knowing that, you know, if something's going to give you an instant gratification and you really, really seek it, it's like chocolate. Like, I have a sweet tooth, I really want to have a piece of chocolate. Don't sit and eat the whole chocolate cake. Right? Like,
you mentioned chocolate cake. You mentioned chocolate. I want some chocolate. Thanks, Taps. Did somebody mention chocolate cake?
What did you mean?
Why did you mention chocolate cake?
You know, you wouldn't even eat the whole thing, right? It's going to be bad for your health. Have it and just go.
Oh my God.
Oh, I just want chocolate cake now. I'm sorry, guys.
I know. And that's
suddenly, I don't know where that came from. It's like this craving, like instant gratification. Talk about it.
Go and get some chocolate cake, Taps.
And eat the whole thing.
Just eat it all.
The funny thing is the fact that we are laughing. I really want to point out this because we were talking about this lately, is that the theosophical teachings do come with a very serious stoic formally kind of delivery. And in my realm, I really do believe that laughter and joy, those are human traits, and that's part of life. These teachings don't have to be so damn serious. They don't have to be. I mean, the teachings themselves will always remain the same, but our approach to them doesn't have to be so stoic. It's okay to laugh. And actually, it's good to laugh at yourself because
Yes.
the stupidity that you've done to get to this point is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, do you look at your life and kind of literally point out the stupidest things you've done, and you're like, look,
And if you
look
guess,
where I am because of all the stupidity, and it's funny.
it is true. And that's what makes it funny. And so I like to have a lighthearted approach, a joyful celebration of bringing this in and having this time with you guys. I know we could still laugh. I see a whole bunch of people coming in. Evelise is saying, it's not easy. So I get you, Lyndon. You've got a fan. You've got a little fan there. Evelise and Lyndon. Go, Lyndon. Go, Lyndon. Okay, before Evelise, that's so sweet. We'll definitely have them on again. They're easy to find on Facebook, on the all the channels, all the theosophical work you'll see going online. These are just two of the most important people in my world and very dear friends. And we just wanted to come on and just have a little chat. And obviously it's not enough time. We could probably do it for hours, but I know we're right at 4 minutes till. But Taps, would you mind then just recapitulating everything that you have? We have time to, for 0 and 1. He made, now
This is great.
Set this up really quick because she is a statistician, mathematician, and she's talking about the teachings in the secret doctrine. So what she did was a 15-minute presentation for Russia. We don't expect the full 15 minutes. We're just looking for the clip version of this extremely important pamphlet. So could you possibly just recap for us? And no pressure, but go.
Thank you. So as I said at the very start, it's like everything's going to be a 0-1 game. So when you've started, like you're born, so that's like a starting point, and it's going to end. So you're going to die. You can't stay here forever, and that's fine. We all have to die. So that's okay. That's going to end. And it is all conditioned on different conditions. So right now, what I spoke about in Russia, it was the COVID condition where people were so anxious and, work from home has increased, become a new norm, all these changing political and social conditions. But we got to remember that we are very finite. Our lives are finite. The incidents are also finite. These conditions are also finite. So what we are really talking about, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? Your life's going to be fine. It's all going to end any which way you look at it. So the conditions are ever changing. So those conditions, it's like a probability. You will never be able to sort of beat that line and go to infinity. You would have to have different realizations through different experiences, and all of that together is going to make your life in the present. It has always been in the past, and it's always going to be in the future. And this is what Blavatsky said. She said in The Secret Doctrine that it is these sum totals that exist from eternity in the future and pass by degrees through matter to exist for eternity in the past.
Oh, that is so beautiful. You're in eternity now as much as you will ever be. That is so beautiful, Taps. Thank you so much. She's a mathematician of today, of 2020, and lots of science is catching up with this. So we will be seeing more from Taps, even though she says, phew, I'm done. I don't have to. She's doing it again. And these teachings in the secret doctrine, to be read just as the word and studied with the intellect. Put them into application, take little bits of them, start with the smaller ones, listen to the voice of the silence. It's here on the channel. I read it for you here. If you want to just listen to it, Light on the Path is here as well. There are free copies and the links I'll put down below. You're in eternity now as much as you'll ever be. Remember, she says it's all going to be okay. And in the near-death experiences, they come back and they say, look, if it's not okay, it's not the end. They come back with these teachings. What Taps is explaining to you now and the work that's being done to bring these teachings out into the world is to introduce you to this term, the name Theosophy. It isn't just Theosophy. We call it Theosophy. That's the paradigm right now. But these are the ancient wisdoms, the ancient science, the ancient knowledge that belongs to all and solely to none. It's based on fact. not faith. And it's truth. And that's why we say there's no religion higher than truth, because this isn't a religion. This is simply what we've applied, and we're sharing with you our experience. So closing thoughts from these two beautiful souls. And thank you everybody for all your comments. I said I'd get to them. I'm a big fat liar. I didn't get to them at all. But do you have any closing thoughts, you two? And then we'll see if I can throw in a couple things. I don't want to keep you too long. Taps, would you like to do?
I love you too. I love my time with you guys. So, I mean, it's like theosophy is what sort of like, it's the, like with our lives as well, right? We all live different lives. We all have different conditions. We all have our own set of pains and gains and whatever. But the idea is like when we work for theosophy and we go to these study circles and we work across different other, networks of theosophy, what we really share is this love, this undying love, and knowing that, we are there. We all have different journeys, but we know we are all going to be okay. So I think that's a big thing for me, to have like fellow people to say, well, yeah, we're all going to be all right, right? So it's fine.
Yeah, we are going to be all right. And this has been such a fantastic hour. Lyndon, any final thoughts from you? Lyndon S. Smith, ladies and gentlemen, summing up the entire hour, go.
So if you want to know more about the reality that we are in, why you're here, what are ghosts, what is a spirit, what is karma, what is reincarnation, why do ghosts appear, what are spirits, how you comprised as a person, how you fit in the greater picture, what is a universe, where does it come from, where is it going, where are you from, where are you going, all these things are totally here. And all the yeah, totally. Yes. And it put it to you different ways, because we all learn differently. So it might be something that a particular text that really chimes with you. If not, keep digging and look more, because there's such wonderful, beautifully, deeply moving texts which you can't deny the profundity of these truths which are said.
They're there. It is from the forever expanding universe all the way down to the tiniest atom and everything else in between. A lot of people are here on this channel. They came into this channel because of the psychic powers that is talked about in the 14 lessons, and they want instant gratification. But there is more to you than just your 5 senses. If you want to learn more, please do theosophy, reincarnation, karma, as he mentioned, ghosts, and that people are fascinated. I'm fascinated with it because in a way, and I'm looking at, like, if you see a horror movie or something, a promo for it, they're looking at the astral realm very clearly. It isn't the devil, it is the astral realm and the elementals and all the things that, all of that's explained in the teachings of theosophy.
And they're all sense. And we are all connected.
In a way, the unity of all,
connected,
we are all connected. And I love you so much. I cannot believe how awesome it was to have you. Let's do this every day, all day, all the time.
It's been a blast.
Yeah.
Let's do it all night one. That would be so cool.
An all-nighter.
All nighter. Amazing. Yeah, with our pillows and everything and duvet, and then just get up and say something. And then go back.
What's stopping us? Let's do it. It'd be so much fun. I just absolutely love them. Please keep your eyes and ears open for more from Taposhri Ganguly. Her channel is called D. She does a live broadcast. She's a lot more serious. Well, I would say a lot more serious. She's just focuses. I'm silly on mine. I want to be silly because I'd like to bring laughter into it. I think that's really important. I'd like to reach.
Have you seen like the comments I get from people? I
have seen. Okay, that's true. I do know that you get. I just didn't want to throw you under the bus and say that you're going to get more ridiculousness. She does an amazing job over on D, and also Lyndon S. Smith. Keep an eye out for him as well. They both are currently doing the diploma course through the Theosophical Society headquarters out of England. I've done that as well. I'm on the other one, and there's going to be a link into that. And we're coming up on our final exams next month, you guys.
Yeah, I know.
So, but I don't think you ever get a chance to finally graduate. This is going to be lifetimes upon lifetimes. But if you want to learn the basics, I can't recommend the TSC diploma course enough. All of us are on it, and it's been amazing. It's changed our lives. So these texts, if you want to learn more, remember there are on the channel, there are free audiobooks. If you'd like to get a copy of the downloadable PDFs of the Voice of the Silence, the 14 lessons, or the Voice of the Silence, Light on the Path. I can't remember what I said, but anyway, they're going to be in the links down below. Is there anything that you two would like to say before we close?
No, other than it's been an absolute pleasure again with two of my favorite people, Taps and Anne. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you. We love you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, all of you, for being here. If I didn't say Evelise, Evelise is a big Lyndon fan. Trent,
Oh,
hi
wow.
Trent. Well,
Evelyn.
Charlie, Evelise, yeah,
Dominic.
Evelise. She's lovely.
Catherine.
Dominic and Catherine. And yeah, we've seen a whole bunch of you here, and we're really, really grateful for you. We'll see you again. There's more that will be happening here on the channel, but we'll let you know as we go along. Good night, you two. I love you, and I'm so grateful for you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. We love you. Good night.
Good
Bye,
night,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.